Okay, so I'm going to show you how to the basics of how to determine how many hours the lights are on given some data logger data. So here we have 5-minute data logger data you can see here. We have a couple of different files from these are loggers that were downloaded from different rooms. Um, and so the standard data logger U11 data or U12 data, excuse me. We have the temperature, relative humidity, and light levels. The key is, for us right now is this light level column. You can see our units here, our lumens per square foot, which you should know are foot candles, of course. And so we want to figure out how many hours a week the lights are on. So what you want to look at are trends. Um, there's no hard and fast number that indicates the lights are on in terms of foot candles. It just depends on the room, the placement, the time of year, all kinds of factors. Um, so you want to look at the trends. Okay, so let's just take a look at this one as an example. So obviously we have zero, which either it's um, faulty or there's no light at all. Scroll our way down a little bit and see. Now this one happens to be pretty easy because it jumps up right away. Now that's, you should notice, is really high, um, or it's a really high level of brightness. 250 foot candles is 5 times what you should expect at like in a classroom. It's about 50 foot candles is the IES classroom recommended illumination level. So what does this mean? Um, Almost certainly what this means, and I would know this if I were on the audit. Hopefully, I would know this. I just happen to not know this because I'm not sure where we had the relogger. But this is almost a I can't think of any other reason except if it's under like a really, really bright spotlight, which wouldn't make any sense. For our purposes, this is almost certainly the logger was set on top of a pendant luminaire that's indirect or semi-indirect or whatever. So it's sending some amount of light up. And so you take that and you flip the logger over, point it down toward the top of the luminaire, and that way, any light that's coming and hitting that logger is from the luminaire. Maybe there's some like ambient light filtering up through, which is what this is probably right here. But it's really distinct when that thing turns on. So that's a kind of a common way, common way to place a logger so you're really clear. Sometimes if you put it like in the corner of a room and there's ambient light coming in from a window or a hallway or whatever, then it can be a little bit tricky. Um, but this is really clear and it just eliminates any ambient light impacts. Okay, so we know when it's there, right? And this is a really big file. You can see there's almost 8,000 rows. And so I want you to think really pretty simple Excel formula or function, excuse me, to determine how many hours the lights are on. I'll let you think about that. And just remember these are 5-minute intervals and go from there. Okay? So think about that. That's the first thing. So you can see this was like, if you look at the dates, this is February 16th. This is March 14th, and this is 2024. So we have more rooms here. Now, in a perfect world, these would all be aligned in terms of their time. It looks like these ones are. So this is January 26th through February 13th. This is January 26th through February 13th. Sorry, I was on a split window there. February 13th. Okay, so these two are the same. So here's another little tip to save you some time, and this should work out for our audit because we placed all the loggers at the same time. And so once you come up with your formula, right? So let's say, I'm not going to, whatever, I'm just giving you an example formula here. So let's just say I want to find the peak foot candles for this whole column, for this room, excuse me, during this time. So I'm just gonna, put a max function in there, right? So max, and then do the whole thing here, select the whole column, right? So here's the maximum foot candle, right? You want to label it, right? So max, max. what am I just gonna call it? An SC, right? And so now we have our, let's say this is the formula that you figured out to do the whole thing with the, what you need to do for your lab. So what's great is you see this is cell G1, obviously. So now since this is the other one's identical, I can just copy this. Yeah, Control C, go over to my other one, right? And go to cell G1, hit Control V. Look at that. And so what's great about that is now I have the max for that column. Okay. And so for your lab, you're going to have whatever, how many, I don't know, maybe 10 rooms, and you can just go boom, 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 just tap, 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 and quickly, once you figure out the formula, you can quickly copy it over if this is identical, right? So that's another nice little tip. Another helpful tip is to do this, is to paste your HoboWare chart into your spreadsheet, just in case, for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you have any anomalies or anything you want to figure out and you want to sort of match up your data with the actual chart. Sometimes it's easier to sort of see the whole picture, obviously, when you look at a chart like this. So that can be really helpful. I also, in order to do that, just an FYI, in case you haven't figured that out, right? If you go to your HoboWare, right? And so if this is my chart, I just go to this, right? So this is my HoboWare chart. I can play around with this too, and you can sort of, this is obviously dynamic. And so you can sort of play around and see exact dates and times and so forth. But if you right click, so I'm right clicking and then hit copy graph to clipboard and then minimize this, and then, whatever, just paste this in here, right? Okay. And so that's a best practice that just, it's good to have. If you don't use it, you don't use it, but it's good to have. The other thing I want to point out is if you do, so for all of your rooms, paste all of them in here, right? So one at a time, and this is have a master sheet with all of your charts, and that just, again, it's like a really quick, if you just want to find a chart or later on you want to go back to it, and where is that? You want to go all the way down to Hobo, go all the way to Hobo and find it, like open up your master Excel document, all your charts are right here, you can find an old chart. And as I put here, you can highlight things on here like that, like get creative, like do whatever is you find useful, right? So if this is like a spike here and I want to, maybe indicate this spike for some reason, who knows why, right? So just do insert a shape and do whatever shape, right? So I like my soft squares, I guess you could say, right? So here's my little shape, my shape fill. I'm going to make it clear so I can still see everything behind it. Here's my outline. I can make it heavier by doing the weight. Okay, you can do the call out. To do the call out is another shape. You insert the shapes, and down here you have your call outs, right? So you can draw it anywhere, it doesn't matter. And then you can drag this little point around, point to there, type in here, here, right? So whatever it is. So number one, that helps you in may help you in your analysis. Who knows? Um, just in general, when you're in the thick of this and you're like really looking into these and you're analyzing and you find something that is worth noting that you maybe want to put in your report or in your presentation, et cetera, and you're in analysis, just make a note of it somewhere, even if it's a note here, right? You can type in here, you can insert text boxes. Just because it's a lot easier to go back later. You think you're going to remember it, but you don't always remember exactly. So any way you can save yourself time, you go back and be like, okay, I remember exactly what I was thinking here. That's a best practice. This is also you can put in your presentation, so your final presentation, if there is something that is, I guess demonstrative or indicative of an energy efficiency measure or somebody that can reduce their energy use. Whatever the heat was left on is left on at night. Okay. So these charts make for really nice visual aids. Now you can use Excel, of course, but these are nice. They're already done for you. They're not, I guess they're not really nice visual aids. They're not the best. They can take a little bit of, You can't really massage them too much, but or change them because these are static. But these are can be nice in a report or a presentation to show people like, hey, you see the thermostat's not set back overnight. You can see here that here's 70 degrees and here's the temperature. You can see it's an average. Like this is actually a good one because this is 76 and 78 degrees. So this is like 77 degrees. Like this is way too warm. Should not be that warm unless it's the summertime. And it wasn't, if you remember. Yeah, this is February, so it should not be that warm in there. So that's a good one, right? So you can draw a line, like get creative, right? So insert a line. So the 70, here's 71 degrees, right? So indicate that with a line. Nice big red line. Thicker, easy to see, right? So that's 71 degrees. That's where it should never really get above that temperature. You can go just a little bit above and below, but you notice here it's like way above here, and you can put another line here. That's 78. So whatever. I mean, just get creative. Think about it. Just don't overwhelm people. You want to make it as easy as possible and interpret what people are looking at, and this is one way to do that. So you can put this in your presentation, and if nothing else, you're gonna put all of these data logger results in an appendix in your report. Okay, so I'll leave it at that, but that's just a couple of tips for both. Remember, originally we're calculating the hours a week the lights are on, so really think about that carefully. And then remember, we had a quick shortcut for how to do a bunch of functions for spreadsheets that are the same size. Remember that best practices are to paste in your charts, and then just get creative. Like think outside the box a little bit. Anything that would make it more obvious for people, especially the uninitiated, to like understand what's going on. Um, you can use all of your various tools that you have at your disposal.